Welcome back for our week 19 update at Machina. Stick around to the end and I'll share some wisdom about these guys and all the disasters we've had trying to print them. On the work front, we're continuing along. We've got paying clients at the moment and we've got a few others in the wings. In Muswellbrook last week, we drove up to the AI Summit. Now, for those that know me, I'm a bit of an AI novice. A lot of the people I work with use it fairly heavily, and I've used it a lot for things like generative design, where you might have a bracket, which looks like this. Turns out brackets are dinosaurs. So traditionally, this may have been done fairly straightforward. You might have just done a cutout in the middle, save some weight. With generative design, the end result might look something like this. You have fixed parameters for certain points. You input loads into this equation, and then the design software will fill the gaps with the most efficient structure, which might end up looking like this. So the software will go through various iterations of this load and optimize for weight normally. It will remove areas which aren't critical for stress, which would be these guys in here. It's optimizing force flow through the solid material down to the base. So this sort of thing I've had a lot of experience with over the last 10 years. This has been baked into CAD software for quite some time. But as far as running a business with AI and using it for things in that, that's kind of what this was focused on. And then jobs, obviously, being in Muswellbrook was a concern. So it was very interesting. Met some nice people, and I'm keen to sort of dive into this more. I'd love to hear if you think I should be getting more into AI, using it to run all kinds of aspects of my business. Who knows? Let me know. In the STEM space, there is a date booked for the first MRAG on the 21st of the 3rd. So that's locked in. What we're going to do is a workshop using soluble material or removable material inside. So let's say we're making another dinosaur. Whatever type, maybe a Spinosaurus. So here's your inner material. And what I'll get the students to do is get this guy or girl, and we've got a base which is a solid form, 3-dimensional. And then using 3D pens or wire, we're going to wrap it to get an outer exoskeleton. At this point, they might want to do some decorations. For instance, maybe some feathers on the spine or spikes on the tail, googly eyes, whatever. And we're going to grab that support material and pull it out. So that's all gone. I think that'll take maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And then what I want to do then is bring in our little friend to the 3D scanner, and we'll have a go at capturing this guy's geometry, which will be very random, and bringing this guy into our CAD workspace. It's a bit arty. I feel like that'll fit the space, and we'll play it by ear and see how it goes. The other session I was doing at a local space closer to home, we've pushed that one back, but that's definitely still on. So advertising will go out for that this week. And that's going to be more focused on putting those two technologies against each other, like we talked about previously. Next week, I'm heading down to Sydney. And down here, what we're going to have is a University of Newcastle event, which is the Travelling Roadshow, but it's in Sydney. So I'm volunteering for that for one day next week. In the next update, I'll run through how that all went. It's all the students from around that whole Sydney area descending into Sydney Olympic Park to do all those fun activities that the university put on. with a traveling roadshow, and it should be exciting. And I'm sure there'll be a whole variety of solutions for the station that I'm on. On the social side, we had our Hunter Innovation Festival Innovator Lunch, and it was the biggest I've seen yet. It was fantastic. So many people attended, everyone keen to learn about investing and getting investment for their businesses. So that was a really good session. Definitely keep an eye on the Hunter If LinkedIn and social pages, because yeah, like I keep saying, this year is going to be very, very exciting, and I'd love to list all these amazing things and fill in the details, but I won't. I'll wait until it's the right time and they'll all be announced. I did make it into the I2N session, and it was very interesting. I learnt some new techniques to help define what I'm trying to do. One thing that I had a bit of a revelation on is that I've been thinking of the students, because they're the ones I'm teaching, but they're not necessarily my customers. When I look at advertising and getting people into the events, which is kind of where I'm struggling now, I've realized that my actual customer are the parents. And then once the event starts, the focus becomes these individuals, and they're the customer. So I've actually got two groups of customers that I have to treat completely separately. These parents, the ones that are actively engaged in trying to get extra skills and experiences into their children, and helping them guide their way into whatever career they want. Maybe they want to test the waters with one of my sessions. They might realize it's not for them. And then for only an afternoon's worth of commitment, that might help them save 3 or 4 years at university, and maybe they'll decide they're better off going into a trade and maybe coming back and doing more tertiary education later in life. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I really want to get into that lesson learned about these blocks and the do's and don'ts, how we go from this to this, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. So the spacer needed to be quite strong. There's 4 of them. I expect the load to be around 200 kilos. I originally started with ABS in purple. So you can see here, the finish is quite terrible. Why? I don't know. And then we got about 3/4 of the way up, the spaghetti monsters. That happened a couple of times. Bit of a waste, but I think I can still use these. There's still a fair bit of depth there in that pocket. Okay, then I tried out a new material for me, ASA, and this is what we were getting. The same bubbling on the surface. So I thought that bubbling in the ABS was probably due to moisture. But here we are, different material, fresh batch, same problem. And once again, getting to 3/4 and boom. So what do? Tweak the settings for a while, play it around, another failure. Kept happening. And this is the thing, this new technology, you think you're good, you think you know everything, you've been doing this for a long time, revert the settings back to standard, let the machine figure it out, and take your ego out of the equation.